Okay, we'll get underway, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for the webinar, which is solar street lighting technology and the newest and most important developments revealed. Firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone again, and we'll just quickly run over some housekeeping items, if I could. If you haven't already, please, if you could turn your microphones off so we don't have any feedback throughout the presentation. Also, I'll be monitoring the chat function today, so if anyone has any questions along the way at any time, please feel free to put any questions in the chat function, which is down the bottom of your screen. We will be stopping along the way. We'll be pausing throughout the presentation to answer some questions, and the ones that we don't get to, we'll dedicate some time at the end to answer some questions as well. So today our presenters are Kieran McGrain, who is the Strategic Partnership Manager at Leadsun, and Matt Pollard, who is the Managing Director at Leadsun. So yes, both of these guys work for Leadsun, and we obviously sell solar lighting. However, I just wanted to start at the beginning of this webinar just to reiterate that this is an educational piece for us. We really want to add value to you. So it's not about selling, it's about really educating today and really highlighting some of the advancements that this industry has had recently and also where it started from. So just before I hand over to Matt, and in the spirit of reconciliation, Leadsun would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Matt, who will tell us a little bit about his journey and how it began in the solar lighting industry.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us, and many thanks, Brad, for the warm introduction. And also just to double down on Brad's words, the purpose of today is really just to shine a light on solar lighting technology and just how far it's advanced over the last decade. I'm sure some of us might have some preconceived ideas as to what that looks like. So for instance, the technology behind it, how it performs compared to grid lighting and how much it costs. So hopefully through the webinar, we can provide some useful information to help you consider solar lighting for any current or future lighting projects that could be on the horizon. So my introduction into solar street lighting technology occurred back in 2005, where at that time I was operating a company that specialised in both manufacturing and installation of outdoor lighting systems. And it was actually for a really difficult, challenging project we were given to light up a public car park at a boat ramp here in Melbourne, where what was supposedly going to be a straightforward installation became a huge problem. And that was mainly due to the underground rock underneath the asphalt that prohibited us from doing any trenching or excavation to run the electrical wiring. So we had to go back to council and basically create a different solution to get lighting into this car park area. So that allowed me to do some research and investigation into grid-free solar lighting, which was something that I really hadn't had any prior experience with. And upon that investigation, I just remember at that point, everything was so expensive, as the lighting needed to rightfully comply with the Australian lighting standards. But after a lot of research, the only reliable product I could find on the market costed about $10,000, and that was just for one light. And also that was going to take about 12 weeks to prepare and get it to site. So because of this and the high cost, the council agreed to just undertake a trial of one of these solar lights, and we'll then given a job to install it. So 12 weeks later, and I remember it arriving on the back of a truck, and my first impression was I just couldn't again believe how big, heavy and makeshift it looked. You can see that sort of an example of that on the left of screen. And also just how complicated it was. There were just bits everywhere, and wiring harnesses, battery boxes, and all those sorts of things. Incredibly complicated. In fact, we needed to have like a little crane on site to lift the heavy pole in position. After that, we needed a cherry picker to install all the different lighting equipment, like panels and lights and batteries, etc. So actually, by the time we finished installing it and supplying it, it cost nearly $13,000. And again, that's just for one light. So even after that first bad experience, I guess, with solar, I still realized that it had lots of potential, but only if it could become a lot cheaper, more attractive, easier to install, and also importantly, more dependable, just to ensure that it could work all year round, not just during the summer months. So that led me on a bit of a journey to start investigating more about how solar lighting could be improved. And what I learned back around that time, 2005, that there was going to be, or it looked like there was going to be an enormous technological change about to hit the lighting industry. So the first part of that is LED. So again, from that period around 2005, some of this really transformational and groundbreaking things was really revolving around LED lighting. So even though this new technology was raw and not really proven yet, the key advantage LED would have over the years for not just solar lighting, but all lighting, was just how more efficient and longer lasting it would become. So going back to 2008, and as a comparison, a traditional street light with a mercury vapor lamp, that would only achieve around 35 lumens per watt. Even the very original LED equivalent back in 2008 was capable of achieving 110 lumens per watt. So that's around about 3 times more power efficiency. Not only that, they were much longer lasting, somewhere around the realms of about 5 times more lifespan. So again, just lots of upside and excitement about LED technology. Another big advancement around that time was with solar PV and the emergence of monocrystalline solar technology, which has gone gangbusters now and widely used right throughout the world for rooftop solar panels. So the key benefit of this technology compared to conventional, just having a look on the screen there, was again just how more efficient they were in harvesting the sun's energy and turning photons into electrons. So we can look at that and say that we're getting, or even at that time, greater than 20% efficiency in that conversion rate, smaller size and longer lasting as well. Now, the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle to fall in place was the advent of lithium battery technology, and that being used for larger devices and bigger applications. So I'm sure all of us are aware just how significant it has become today in our daily lives, as it powers everything from mobile phones to now electric vehicles. But again, back in 2008, it was just starting to emerge and even considered a bit risky. There were just some unknowns about its safety and tolerances, but that was known. And I guess what was really important was just how more powerful and compact these batteries were compared, again, to that traditional lead acid battery. The key takeaway here is just how much more usable energy they could store. So as you can see on the screen there, lithium batteries can utilize up to 90% of its energy, compared to only somewhere between 20 to 50% of a lead acid battery. When you go over 50% for lead acid, it actually has an adverse effect and lowers the life expectancy. The other great benefit of lithium ion was that it's only 1/3 of both the weight and size, so it's a lot more compact. So knowing all this, it led me on a discovery trip. I went throughout Asia and visited many trade fairs and lighting shows, and just to learn more about the technology and find potential suppliers I could partner with, and with the vision that we could create a new and improved solar lighting system. So I guess after that trip and, you know, just having this sort of concept of an all-in-one solar light where we could actually integrate all of those new cool technologies into one sleek, compact, but, you know, powerful and affordable system. So, you know, this is something that's really gone on and revolutionized not just the solar lighting industry, but the, you know, the entire outdoor lighting industry as a whole. So you can see some images here, and this is actually, you know, from the result of 3 years of development and testing. We got to a stage in 2008 where we were able to release the world's first all-in-one solar street light. This technology, as I said, is a real game changer, as it now allows fast, easy, and cost-effective lighting into a whole range of different outdoor lighting applications. So best part is that it's all powered by the clean and infinite energy of the sun. So just to explain a bit more about that, I'll pass you over to Karen, and he'll dive deeper into some of that technology that Leadsun is at the forefront of. And there'll be some questions, I'm sure, and we'll be happy to answer those. So over to you, Karen.
So thanks, Matt, and good afternoon, everybody. And thanks for sharing your technological journey from the early beginnings of solar lighting to where we are today. So I'd like to talk to you about you know, the smarts in public lighting. So the word smart is bandied about a lot these days to cover all manner of technologies. But what does it mean to us? So firstly, sustainable. Our lights are environmentally friendly. They generate their own power, so they require no electricity from the grid. They're modern, they have elegant designs that will enhance any public space. They're adaptable, autonomous lighting that's not tethered to the grid. So you can install them wherever you want, not where the electricity is available. They're robust and dependable. Our lights are designed for Australian conditions. So we design our lights for Australian conditions, and they're also immune to electrical blackouts and brownouts. And then the technology. These really are advanced systems. There's a lot of tech built into them, so they're smart city ready. So next, I'll talk to you about our unique battery. So at the heart of every Leadsun smart public lighting solution is our unique patented battery management system. So our batteries are not only better, they're actually different. The patented double battery management system more than halves the number of discharge cycles. So it delivers double the life of a traditional lithium-ion battery. So if you know about lithium-ion batteries, you'll know that they have a finite number of discharge cycles. Now, our ingenious algorithms optimize the operation to minimize the number of discharge cycles, and also ensure the batteries operate within their optimum range. And this extends their life and protects the battery. So we're confident of the long battery life. We're so confident of the long battery life, we give our customers an industry-leading 10-year battery performance guarantee. And in fact, the batteries will last a lot longer than this. So a little bit more about our smart technologies. Using our Smart Edge wireless control and PIR motion sensors, we can program the lights to respond when movement is detected. For example, in the late evening, when it's quiet, they could operate at, say, 20% brightness, and then increase the full brightness when pedestrians or vehicles approach. Now, research from Monash University's XYX lab and Arup consultants found that, amongst other things, that high luminance lighting does not improve the perception of safety. However, Leadsun's smart lighting provides layered warm lighting with adaptive operation that can contribute to creating a safer, more inviting environment, especially for women and girls. And in addition, the adaptive lights are also increase the battery autonomy in the winter months when the nights are longer and the days are shorter. So looking at the Edge wireless monitoring and control system in more detail. So Edge can be remotely accessed through a web browser using a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, or a PC from pretty much anywhere. So each light is logged into the Edge system, including its GPS location. So each light can be illustrated on a Google map. The model and serial number are also recorded and displayed, tabulated along with each light specification. So that's the light's maximum, the light's battery maximum charge capacity and the solar panel energy generation capacity. And then through Edge, you can remotely configure the operation of each light. So you can change the timings and the light levels. So for example, a common program is that at dusk, the lights will be set to illuminate at 100% brightness. And then later in the evening, when things are quiet, they can dim to say 30%. But if a pedestrian is detected, they will increase in brightness again to 100% for say 5 minutes. And then in the early morning, when people start getting out and about for exercise and commuting, they can increase in brightness once again to 100% until dawn. And they also provide real-time displays of the battery charge and the solar energy generation. And this can be used for diagnostics. And the Edge system also provides fault monitoring and reporting. So from this, you can see how far we've come in developing solar lighting technologies. So we've gone from dumb, clunky, expensive systems to smart, elegant systems that are 1/5 of the price. And today our solar lights have even better performance than Matt talked about earlier. Battery capacities have increased by 50% from 2008 to 2020. And LED output has also improved by an impressive 80%. So there really have been some significant changes and improvements. So now we'll pause for some questions. So Brad?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of questions that have come in quickly. John's asked, how bright are these lights and are they the same compliance as powered lights?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I'd probably tackle that one with the last bit of that. So compliant lighting is, what it's all about. So the actual lighting levels are scalable. So, we have smarts in there that can, wind the lighting all the way up from 0 to 100%. So they're bright enough always to meet compliance. So, that ranges from different categories for street lighting to car park lighting to pathways. They all have different levels of compliance and brightness. So they're designed to meet all of those different levels.
Cool, thank you. And so just one more before we move on. Warren has asked a common question, I think. What if we want to put solar lights in a park where there are a lot of trees and foliage?
Yeah, that's not unusual. Obviously, firstly, as a part of our service, we always design a system that it's got to take into consideration all those factors. And it's not uncommon to have some trees there. So when it's really bad, we have a system where we have what's called a solar engine. So that's installed in a remote location where it's got clear exposure to sunlight. That's where the solar panel and the battery unit is, at the top of the pole. From that point, we run shallow underground wiring that's only about 200 millimeters deep. So it's not deep enough to disrupt any tree roots. That can run about 100 meters or more, and it's like a daisy chain. And what we do, we call those other lights that link up slaves, and they all get powered from that centralized solar engine.
Great. And just one more that's just come in from Raj. He's just asked if these lights meet V or P category and also Australian standard.
Yeah, well, 100% for P. They can meet V. That's a much higher type of specification. So we're starting to enter street lighting and road lighting. So that's more around intersection lights where you need a V category light. So obviously that requires a much larger system. We're not in the business of providing big, ugly, clunky systems as we shared earlier, but for some of those special applications, we've got to design something that's big enough to be able to handle that extra load with the light.
Great, cool. All right, so that's just a few there questions just to break it up a bit. So please do feel free to drop any more in the chat box along the way, and we'll have another break in a few minutes. But let's move on to topic 2, Kieran.
Okay, thanks very much, Brad. Thanks, Matt. So topic 2, we're going to look at common misconceptions about solar lighting. And the 3 areas are, is solar lighting expensive? Is solar lighting reliable? And does solar lighting work on cloudy days? Now, we're often asked these questions, so we're going to look into those and answer them for you now. So the first one, is smart solar lighting more expensive than grid lighting? Well, the short answer is no. When considering just hardware, installation and commissioning, they're very competitive. And when looking at the total lifetime cost, it comes out ahead. So often offering very good value for money, and we'll explain more later. So why is that? There's no expensive trenching and cabling for the installation of solar lights. There's no ongoing energy costs, power costs, and they're essentially maintenance free. They only require periodic cleaning. So we've made a detailed comparison between electrical grid lighting and our new Freedom residential street lights, and Matt will tell you about these later. The comparison is of the 20-year total life cost of 100 residential lights. And we've used figures from a lighting consultant for the grid lighting and our own costs for the supply, installation and replacements of components for the Freedom street lights. And the comparison showed that for 100 street lights over a 20-year period, the smart solar lights are significantly lower cost. They're over 30% lower. And we'll be delighted to share these figures with you one-to-one if you reach out to us. So let's look at a comparison of the installation and commissioning costs between grid and smart lighting. Now, the big difference is time and cost. So what we're going to look at is the installation of a 1 kilometer section of pathway lighting. Now, the lighting compliance level is P2, P4. The pole spacing is 33 meters, and the number of poles is 30 poles. So we're going to have the grid lighting at the top and the solar lighting at the bottom here. So firstly, planning and specifications. So it's $10,000 in 3 weeks for the grid lighting, and it's complimentary in 1 week for the solar lighting. For the supply of the new electricity supply, so getting electricity to the site, $10,000 and 4 weeks. For solar lighting, it's not required. For the underground wiring, $25,000 and 3 weeks, but for the solar lighting, once again, it's not required. And then finally, for the lighting installation and commissioning, $20,000 and 2 weeks for the grid lighting and $15,000 and 1 week for the solar lighting. So if we top those all up, the total cost for and time for the grid lighting is $65,000 and 12 weeks, and for the smart solar lighting, $15,000 and 2 weeks. So you really can see there's a huge saving with the solar lighting. So the solar lighting requires no trenching of underground or underground cabling, which is expensive, time-consuming, and destructive. So here's a short 30-second video that shows how quickly and easily we can install a lighting project. So it shows our installation technicians installing the EasyFoot concreteless footings. So they're driving the panels into the ground, and then the lights are assembled at ground level, requiring no high lift equipment. And 2 men can raise the light into position using the hinged and easy poles. They're then fixed in place, and the covers are put over, and that's it, the job's complete. Quick, easy, safe, and non-disruptive. So this demonstrates how fast and cost-effective our solutions are. Our installation team install these 12 compliant smart solar lights from start to finish in just 1 day. We believe it can be 6 times faster to install our grid-free solution compared to traditional electric lighting that requires time-consuming trenching and cabling. And also, if you just think about the disruption that have been caused to this site, trenching through the beautiful new asphalt and landscaping, it would have been a tragedy to destroy that. But for us, you know, we were in and out, install the lights, and you wouldn't have known we'd been there other than the fact there were new lights installed. So next, are solar lights reliable? And again, the short answer is yes. Smart solar lights are very reliable. And if you consider the fact that they aren't susceptible to blackouts and brownouts that are occurring more frequently these days as the grid reaches capacity, they're more reliable than traditional grid-connected lights. Plus, by installing grid-free lights, you're not adding additional load to the network, so there's a double benefit. And they're not only reliable, they're also essentially service and maintenance free. They only require periodic cleaning of the panel and optics. So this could be to clear away cobwebs, bird droppings, tree sap. So it's very site specific. We also fit the solar panels at a specific angle to ensure that they benefit fully from the cleaning effects of rainwater. And it's important to note that our early systems that are now more than 10 years old are still running perfectly and with no service, no servicing or maintenance. In fact, in the city of Casey, lights were installed 12 years ago that Matt showed you earlier, and they're all still shining brightly after receiving no maintenance. So they really are, reliable and trustworthy. So next, what about cloudy days? Now, solar panels still charge on cloudy days, but due to the clouds diffusing the rays from the sun, they operate at about 15% efficiency. But when we're designing a system, we size the battery and solar panel for the worst conditions, i.e. the short, cloudy days and long nights of the winter. So for example, even if there was a nuclear winter, no sun at all, our lights would continue to operate for 4 nights. And even in the depths of Melbourne's winter, it's not that bad. So you can be confident that the lights will keep shining night after night after night, 365 nights a year.
Just on that, Kieran, and as a bit of an extension there, I get asked a lot as well, do they work in cold, cooler climates? And the answer to that is actually yes. And probably some of the best solar conditions in Australia are in Tasmania, where you get some nice cool weather and still get some bright sunshine. That even increases the efficiency more. So so cloudy and cooler conditions, solar can work well.
Okay, very good to know. So we'll take another pause here for questions. So Brad?
Well, Raj has asked a similar question to before, in that in rural and green areas, how do we resolve the shading issues?
Yep, so we touched on that a little bit earlier. I think design is so important. I've seen some really poorly designed solar lighting projects, not by us, but by others. And it's a bit of a scattergun approach of just putting poles anywhere without any real consideration for trees and shades. Again, when those circumstances arrive, we have a unique system that allows us to put in a solar engine in a centralized location and running extra low voltage 12-volt wiring, which is safe. It's only shallow. We can run that for 100 meters or more. So, typically in some of those rural areas where you do get some trees, we've had plenty of occurrences where we've been able to get around that and still provide an equally cost-effective system with little disruption, because it's so shallow, the trenching, and works equally as well. So it's still solar powered, off-grid, just a little bit of a different way that it's done.
Okay, cool. And just quickly, Gavin did ask what voltage is the wiring to the slave unit, which I think you just answered, that's being 12 volts.
Yeah, 12 volt DC, that's common. What we can do, our engineers are able to actually, for longer distances, there is a thing called voltage drop that can occur with lower voltage. When we do have longer spans of wiring and greater load, meaning that there's more LED power that gets consumed, what we can do is scale up the voltage. So we've got our own devices there that can actually turn 12 volt into 48 volts. That mitigates against the effect of voltage drop. And then at the other end, we just drop it back down. So again, there's just clever ways that we work around some of those issues.
Excellent. And just one more before we move on. Adrian has asked, are there any offerings approved on the AEMO table?
Well, the acronym I need to...
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. We'll get some clarification from Adrian on what that is. But we'll definitely be getting to some more questions at the end as well in a couple of minutes. So, but let's move on to topic 3 and away we go, Kieran.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Matt. So the final section, Matt will introduce 2 case studies: a pathway lighting project for Wodonga Council in Victoria, and secondly, a smart residential street lighting project at Epperson Estate in Florida, USA.
So as Kieran said, we've got a couple of case studies to present, and I think this first one for the city of Wodonga is really indicative of what our bread and butter has been over the last 15 years, and that is lighting up public spaces and such as shared pathways and car parks. So we've had the privilege to work with, or I should say partner, would be more appropriate, with the City of Wodonga over the last few years on the expansion of their shared pathway network around town. So I think now we've provided well over 300 of our smart solar lights. And that's by and large, it's been through the council accessing funding. And the purpose of that is the smart public lighting is to improve safety along these popular pathway networks for residents and commuters to use the light, to use the pathways all night long, and particularly the early evenings and the mornings there. So, but look, don't take our word for it. I've got a 1-minute video from Ryan, an officer at the City of Wodonga, that's just going to explain a bit more about their experiences.
Hi, my name is Ryan and I'm from the Sport and Recreation team at Wodonga Council. I'm out here in one of our lovely parks today to talk to you about our latest installation of solar lights on our path networks. This most recent instalment has been 54 lights along our path networks and has been funded by the Crime Prevention Community Infrastructure Fund. Why are these lights great? As you can see here, the lights are an all-in-one solar LED light. They have motion detection, so as you approach they brighten up, but when you're not there using them they'll dim down to 30% brightness, which gives us a much better lifespan for the battery and better for the environment. These lights will enable more people to get out and use our paths in the night time. I know myself as a cyclist, now in winter as it's getting pretty cold and dark, that those extra lights along the pathway allow me to ride to work and feel more comfortable. And also they're great for people going to school in the mornings, to work, to their sporting club and back home again. Just basically encouraging more people to get out, be active and be on our pathways. We hope to secure more funding to roll out these lights across more of Wodonga into the future, so stay tuned and we'll be coming to a park near you.
Thank you, Ryan. It's always great to have an advocate, particularly a customer, talking about the success of those projects. So what does the future of solar lighting look like? Well, I guess for us, Leadsun, it's mainly about continuing and improving and providing greater value in our solutions, trying to provide more for less, but still not giving up on quality and ensuring that there's proper compliance is met. But certainly technology is a really important part of that. There's something like Moore's Law, and it's similar to, how technology is always advancing and I guess working in our favour. And as we've learned from this webinar, I think now that, the notion that we're really hell-bent on providing fully compliant grid-free lighting that performs equally or better than grid power. And again, we're a quarter of the cost of what that was back in 2008. So, but just like computers are always improving and doubling in processing speed, etc. So that same theory we adopt as Leadsun is doing with solar lighting technologies, and we're at the forefront of that. This next case study, I think, is a real representation of what the future looks like, and this is right now, in how solar lighting is now being preferred over traditional grid lighting, and demonstrates just how far the technology has come. So if you have a look back at that first slide where I was showing you, solar lights from 2005 to where it is today, it's just phenomenal, the progress. So this is a new master plan community called the Epperson Estate, and it's been created by the Metro Development Group in Tampa Bay, Florida. So it's a world-leading development and has some amazing new technology integrated throughout it. So that includes America's fastest Wi-Fi internet. It's even got in-house medical communication support. It's got a mind-blowing crystal clear water lagoon that residents can go and swim in. They've got planned autonomous vehicles to transport residents around the community, robots that can act as security guards, and of course, they've now got smart public solar lights. So I'll now show you a short clip just explaining a bit more about how our smart solar lights are forming an integral part of this new modern community.
Australian solar technology is building a reputation as the world's best after capturing the attention of US developers. They spent almost 2 years searching for the top way to light up a futuristic city, and they found it down under.
Well, it's being billed as the first smart gigabit community built from the ground up.
A tour through a futuristic town calls for a ride in a Tesla.
It's really super cool, right? So we're building a new town from the ground up, and more specifically from the internet up.
Known as a connected city, the town is being wired with what's called Ultra-Fi internet and Wi-Fi, supposedly the fastest in the world.
Developers in Florida spent nearly 2 years searching for high-performance solar lighting. Found it down under. Melbourne company LeadSun will provide more than 10,000 streetlights to the world's biggest solar project over the next few years.
I mean, is this the way of the future? I would say the future is here today. So if folks that are not going down the path of looking at having smart streetlights and smart off-grid solar streetlights, I think they're behind by 2 or 3 years.
The technology is cheaper than electric lighting and can be controlled in real time from a smartphone anywhere in the world.
All these lights that you see here, they're all interconnected to each other, and in real time we can adjust the brightness of the lights. We can see whether they're on or off, how the battery is doing, how they're charging, and diagnose them remotely if you have to do that.
So as you can see there, that's a phenomenal project that's happening right now. We've actually gone on to install around about 2,000 of our lights so far throughout a couple of those developments there, and there's planned for another 10,000 or so over the next 5 years. So it's really exciting. I guess when it comes to the future of public lighting, it's not all about technology. It's also about providing compliant lighting that is environmentally friendly. So that's to ensure that it reduces the impact of what's called sky glow. Part of our requirements with providing advanced and reliable solar lights for our Epicen, we've had to actually ensure that our lights are dark sky compliant. So that's what reduces glare and upward spill light into the night sky. So we went through a rigorous process of redesigning our LED fixture and the optics, basically to tick off and ensure there is no upward light, and also to optimize the lighting distribution to ensure that it throws light only where it's needed. So in that application, it was on the street and the footpath. So I guess going forward, this is going to become a really important consideration, not just in North America, but throughout Australia as well. So local governments in the future will need to comply with dark sky compliance as well. So it's just got to be something considered. I guess we've had a bit of a head start. I'm really glad that we've basically become the world's first solar lighting company to provide a fully certified dark sky compliant lighting system. Now, I guess on the technology front, smart city is something that gets bandied around a lot. I'm really pleased that we've been able to create our own smart system called Edge. And I guess the future for us is round about how we can make that a bit more adaptable and also agnostic, so it can actually be utilised on other networks and platforms. You know, that's with having other things bolt onto it. So that could be anything from air quality sensors all the way down to Wi-Fi access points. So the other great thing about the Edge system is the software. It's always, just like an iPhone gets updates, you can add new things to it. So does our technology. So I think the expansion of our systems once they've deployed, you know, the fact that, you know, they can be updated. We're already piloting some really exciting new projects where we're going to have some weather forecasting and predicting bad weather in advance, and the lights would autonomously, without any sort of human interaction, be able to change their output modes just to prevent the lights from, or the batteries, I should say, from going too low. So that's actually been a really important part. We're piloting something like that in in Epsom because they have hurricanes and they might have 5 days of really bad weather. So things like that are the future for us, to make sure that we're always providing dependable lighting. So that's it, folks. I certainly hope that the webinar has been able to give greater confidence in solar lighting technology, resolve any doubts you may have had about it, and also just shown how far it's progressed over the last decade. Finally, we just invite any participants from today to reach out to us for, you know, they might need some further guidance. I know we've unlocked a bit of information today, but there is a little bit more to it. So what we offer is a complimentary audit of any potential public lighting projects, where our team can get in there and investigate, almost be like a free consultant. You know, we can provide lighting layouts, almost like a specification, and that's all a complimentary service. So basically anything to help you make public areas safer at night.
So I've just got a few questions to finish everything off for today. Brian has asked, are these lights just for street, or what applications are the lights best suited to? What type of projects?
Thanks for the question, Brian. Street lighting is a new application that we've just invested in and created a new product called Freedom, which we explained a bit earlier. That is designed to suit that very specific application. For other applications, such as shared pathways or car parks, we have other fit-for-purpose products designed to provide the most optimised and compliant lighting to suit the requirements, and obviously lighting compliance as well. So we cover a range of different lighting applications, and all of them are designed to be fit for purpose.
Awesome. Okay, Adrian has asked, are there any of the offerings approved on the AEMO table?
Yeah, I love a good acronym. It's a good question. The table refers to grid-connected but unmetered devices such as LED streetlights. So this doesn't apply to our products because there is no required involvement with power authorities, as our grid lighting systems are completely grid-free, so no actual hard wiring connected to their assets.
Excellent. Okay, and someone's also asked, what percentage of your products is Australian made, please?
Yeah, our complete system includes several parts that form the overall solution. We have supply partners with different companies in different countries, including, of course, Australia predominantly, Taiwan and China, that provide various parts consisting of LED modules, bracketing, batteries, electronics, all the steel fabrication provided for our lighting column. So overall, at least 50% of the total solution is manufactured right here in Melbourne, Australia. And then, of course, you've got to include all the R&D, assembly, customization, commissioning, packaging, all that done right here as well in Melbourne.
Great, that answers that well. Lastly, just John has asked, has there been any advances in controlling backwards spill light across residential and city roadways?
Yeah, a lot has happened there, and predominantly I think that's been due to the fact that we've now got our dark sky compliant lighting. I think previous to that, we've always done a great job with providing sharp cutoff, low glare impact lights. It's important to recognise we have actually two different types of LED optics available, and they're for different applications. So for instance, our street lighting LEDs are designed to provide only minimal rear spill to illuminate the footpath behind it. So there has to be some sort of backward light, but not too much. And mostly it's all about trying to push as much light asymmetrically. So that's, I guess, left and right, and also forward to the opposing side of the street. So we call that a type 3 optics, and that also is dark sky compliant, and meaning that there's no upward spill light. in contrast to that, we have a pathway LED optics, and that's designed to have an ultra rear and forward cutoff to reduce as much spill light as possible, whilst also throwing as much light asymmetrically along each direction of the pathway. So it's more of a narrow beam. We call that a type 2 optics, and that also can be a dark sky compliant fixture.
A question has just come in as well about regarding Edge, and can it be retrofitted to old systems?
It actually can. We've got the great thing about our product is all the components are modular. So that ranges from the LED module, the controller, the battery, the PIR. It's designed to be like a plug and play. So when we talk about end of life in terms of the product, it's not the case of just one module that fails and the whole product has to be sort of thrown out. In our case, we can actually integrate, components back into it. So there could be some products that we've supplied customers over a few years ago that we can actually go back in there and retrofit the Edge controller into.
Excellent. Or just a quick question about the easy footing system and how secure that actually is.
Yeah, good question. And EasyFoot's fantastic. I mean, firstly, it's designed for a quick, easy installation. It's been engineered on engineering principles, so it's fully compliant to Australian standards. And I guess the best thing about EasyFoot is the speed of installation, and it actually works really well for areas where you wouldn't expect it to. So that could be sandy areas where there's fill sites. You might have contaminated soil where you're not allowed to actually excavate the ground. That's where the EasyFoot is perfect.
Beautiful. And we've just got a question about the bollards. So someone has mentioned they know we do bollards, but how do these work from a solar perspective?
Yep, so they're what we call solar powered bollards. So that's a little bit different to, I guess, other products in the market that are a solar bollard. So they actually incorporate, a little solar PV, a little battery, the LED, and the structure itself. So, look, we've gone away from that. We did try and attempt to create something that could be all in one, but unfortunately, we just found that particularly around those shaded areas where trees exist and so forth, they just don't work. They can't get enough sunlight. Not to say they won't work where it's nice and open. So for us, that means a bollard with an LED, and it's a very sharp cutoff. It's designed for perimeter applications, and that gets installed through shallow trenching and underground wiring that daisy chain and links all the bollards up, and it's powered by a centralised what we call a solar engine that would be located out of sight, but in a nice sunny location.
Excellent. And just got one from Gavin. He said, who manages the lights once they're installed, and what happens if one goes down?
Yep. So I think the great part of our system is that this is owned outright by the end users. So there's no reliance on sort of power authorities that ordinarily look after your lights. We back our products with a 5-year parts and labour guarantee. So we certainly know for the first 5 years there's nothing to worry about there. We've got a 10-year battery guarantee when we partner up with local governments as well. Any issues with that comes back to us and being able to service. But as I sort of shared earlier, we've got systems that were deployed back in 2008 that are still going strong today. But there's no issue there with serviceability. It's something that we pride ourselves on as a business.
Cool, thanks. So we'll just finish with one last one from Peter, who just asked, just in regards to the Wodonga case study, do we work with councils putting together grants and funding for those specific projects that require smart public lighting?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'd actually think it's something that we specialise in. I mean, my involvement with public lighting actually extends back probably about 25 years and working closely with local government. So, you know, we like to really go through the initial process of an audit, just seeing what's required. What it comes down to is compliant lighting to Australian standards. We're actually able to help facilitate some of those grants through just a specification, and it's not so much a lead sun specification, but it's really just about a guide to what good lighting or good solar lighting principle needs to be with, you know, battery size, solar panel sizes, all those sorts of things.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's about it for all the questions. I just wanted to let everyone know that we have recorded this session, and we'll also be we'll be providing a link in the coming days to the recording of this if you wanted to share this to your greater team, or certainly we're also pretty keen to do a face-to-face and share this to this presentation to your greater team as well. So if this is of interest, please let us know, because we're more than happy to run through it with whether it's your team or you've got consultants that you'd like to see it, or something like that. We're certainly more than happy to run through it again with anyone who you think might benefit from it. We'll provide a link to the video, and we'll also provide a PDF version of all the slides that you've seen as well, so you can go over that and have a look at it a little bit later. So yeah, obviously feel free to contact us if you think of any projects that you think smart lighting would suit. We're more than happy to come out and have a site look and all of those things. So from me, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It's been great. I'd like to thank Matt and Kieran for their insights, and certainly if you've got any questions, drop us a line, but that's it from me, guys.
Excellent. Thanks very much for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.